Hello and welcome to another edition of the Digistore Tech Check. Today we're going to take a look at the Avid ISIS 5000. So what is the Avid ISIS 5000? It is a central storage solution for video editing applications. It is based on Ethernet and it's designed for both Mac and Windows platforms. So you can run Avid applications as well as Final Cut Pro. The Avid ISIS 5000 is based on Windows Server technology, and this operating system is installed on a mirrored set of disks. The video storage itself has 16 SATA drives with a capacity of 32 terabytes in a single ISIS system, and the ISIS can be scaled up to 128 terabytes. The client number is 40 if you're using a single system, or 90 if you scale the system. Let's take a look at the ISIS 5000 front. So we can see the 16 SATA disks, and these disks are RAID 5 protected. In fact, there are 3 sets of RAID 5, and every set has a group of 4 disks. So that basically means that every set can lose one disk without losing data. And it just shows that the ISIS 5000 has a high data security. As soon as a disk fails, the spare drive on the low right will jump in and start to rebuild the degraded RAID set. So again, 3 RAID 5 sets for maximum security and a hot spare disk which will immediately jump in. If we take a look at the backside of the ISIS 5000, the rear view, we have the 2 mirrored system disks. So that's where the Windows operating system is installed, and it is independent from the video storage. So that's important to mention. Additionally, we have 6 Ethernet ports. From the 6 Ethernet ports, only 4 Ethernet ports are actually used, and the 2 in the middle are currently not utilized. On the right hand side you can see a 10 gig E port where you can attach a 10 gig E switch, like a qualified Force 10 switch, for example. Okay, let's take a look how you can connect the ISIS 5000 to clients. In version 3.1 you have a variety of options. The easiest way to do it is just to simply directly connect 4 clients to every single Ethernet port on the back of the ISIS unit. Now this is the easiest way, but it also only allows you to go up to 4 clients. Of course, these clients, as you can see, can be different applications on different operating systems, but you cannot exceed 4 unless you add a switch like the Force 10 switch, and that allows you actually to go up to 40 clients. On this side you can bundle the Ethernet links, so to reach any bottlenecks, or you simply can replace these 4 cables with one 10 gig E cable. Now what happens if you want to add more storage or just add more clients? Well, you simply add another switch and add a bunch of more, a maximum of 3 ISIS 5000 units. So on this side everything will be 10 gig E based in this case, and on the right hand side up to 90 clients are supported, and they can be connected directly with Ethernet connections. So this configuration, which would be the maximum you can get, 90 clients, 128 terabytes, including all licenses needed. A key feature of the ISIS 5000 system is the data redistribution, and this is something that I would like to point out specifically because it's actually really great. Let's assume for a second that I have one ISIS unit and I have just one workspace. I could have more workspaces, but currently I only have one. And now I expand this ISIS 5000 by adding a second unit to it. And what I can do now is to basically extend the workspace onto the second ISIS as well. So this can be done at any time whenever I want to do it. I can extend the workspace, I can shrink the workspace. In this particular case, it means I have additional capacity. So I have double the capacity, but I also have double the speed, because all of a sudden I'm not utilizing 16 disks, I'm using 32 disks. Okay, so let's take a look how you can actually manage an ISIS system and how you can connect a system, and that's what the second part is going to show. Okay, let's see how easily we can connect a computer to an ISIS 5000. I have a laptop here, but I would like to connect a Mac Pro, so I simply use remote desktop connection to basically connect to my Mac Pro and connect to the ISIS 5000. What you need is, of course, the Media Composer application or another Avid application. So basically the client editing software and a client manager. In order to do that, you need to install it. And this is something that a system administrator would do by simply logging into the ISIS management console, which you easily can do over the web browser. So you simply log in and immediately you have a complete overview of the ISIS 5000 system. As a system administrator, you certainly may want to know at some point more details on your system and its performance and how many systems are currently accessing the ISIS. So all this information is easy to read and easy to access here in this window. For example, I can see the system details. So how much terabytes do I have available? How much are in use? What is the current version? All these system details I need to know as a system administrator are easily accessible here. Now, as already said, first of all, I need to install the client manager. So once I have established a connection to the ISIS 5000, I simply click on the installers and I have all the qualified installation packages that I usually would need. So I would simply then click on this one, download the manager and install the manager. Okay? So once the manager is actually set up and installed, I need to create a user for that specific computer. Here's a Mac Pro, for example. This is the currently configured user that I did previously, but at any time you can add another user. Let's say you want to create a user which is a student only, so you simply say student. That student has a password, and at this point you can set up bandwidth limitations and so on. So I am not going to do that, but I am going to assign this user a workspace, which is already set up as well. So the user has read and write access to these workspaces, so he basically can do whatever he wants. And then I say apply. So the student user is now active, and if I want to create a new workspace, I simply click on workspaces. So as we can see here, the Digistore workspace has been created, has a capacity of 600 gigabytes, and there is already some content on that workspace. At any time, I can create a new workspace and say I would like to call this one student. It is hardware protected, so that's a RAID 5 protection, and the storage group is basically the storage group can span multiple ISIS units. So I can set up 200 gigabytes. I can set up alerts. So if this workspace is, let's say, 80% full, I'm going to give an alert, for example, to the system administrator so that he can take further action. And then again, I have maybe the student, which I may want to grant read and write access, and the standard Mac Pro user may just be allowed to read but not to write. So I hit apply and all these things are actually applied. The student's workspace is currently empty. So this is basically all I need to do as a system administrator. I'm going to minimize this and we're going to start the ISIS application. This is the ISIS application. It is a a small little tool which basically allows a user to connect to the ISIS. So let's say I am the Mac Pro and I want to connect. I type in my password, I hit connect, and I have already mounted that specific workspace. So it pops up here. I could also mount the student's workspace, done, and I can make it auto-mountable. That's basically it. That's all I need to do to establish the connection with the ISIS. And the next thing is I'm going to launch the application. Okay, here we are. This is my Media Composer application, which is now running a project which is on the ISIS 5000. It's just a bunch of Artbeats clips which I dragged into a bin. It's important to note that when you're working collaboratively on an ISIS 5000, the first user who gets access to a bin will have a green lock. If, let's say, the student user logs in on a second computer and opens the same project with the same bin, this bin will have a red lock and is read-only. Okay? This is the so-called bin locking feature which Avid provides with Media Composer and other applications as well. Okay, so at this stage I can of course hit play. I'm going back to the workspace. I can at any time while the system is in use, I can access the workspace. I can decide to shrink certain volumes. Not only empty volumes, but of course volumes that are currently in use. Okay, so all this can be done dynamically. I can also decide to expand a volume. If this particular workspace and these users run out of storage, I can simply just drag the slider or type in new numbers and I'm basically done. The ISIS file system will basically redistribute the data and reassign everything. Now it is important to mention that the ISIS keeps track of the current bandwidth and the current users that are accessing it at all time. So down here we have, for example, an indicator megabytes per second. Again, due to the VNC connection, it is a little bit, there's some sort of delay. Now currently this graph does not really go above 5 megabytes per second, and that's due to a bandwidth reservation that I did on that specific computer. So if I click on the computer devices, I can see that I have restricted the bandwidth to 5 megabytes per second, and that will of course cause drop frames on the client machine. So this is something that needs to be watched carefully if you decide to go ahead and use bandwidth limitations. Once I have changed the bandwidth to basically 0, unlimited bandwidth, the number up here will go higher and above the previous 5 megabytes per second, of course. As you can see, it is a very straightforward user interface which allows you a complete control over the ISIS 5000 system and all the clients accessing it. There are a lot of other tools which are very, very useful as a system administrator to maintain the storage, and which I'm not going to cover now. Before I end this presentation, let's take a look at the overall features of the ISIS 5000 system. Okay, so the key features of the ISIS 5000 system, in summary, it's a central storage for Avid and Final Cut Pro applications. So that means Windows and Mac platforms are supported. It is a low-cost solution for a collaborative editing environment. It is an easy and fast installation because of the Ethernet topology, which allows a very quick setup and hassle-free setup. And lastly, it's scalable to up to 128 terabytes and 90 clients. That was the Digistore Tech Check. Thank you for listening, and I see you soon.